Well, I bet you're glad to see me on this side of a camera for a change. Or surprised? Shocked? I have to admit, I've been needing to do this for some time. First, I was supposed to do an intro video, talk about myself, answer some common questions. Then I was supposed to do a video talking about some of my images. People want me to write a blog post, but not knowing how to read and write very well kind of limited what I could do there. And the last reason would be this page. I should have created a video kind of explaining why I needed this. Last weekend, I worked with some fantastic talent. Her name was Bonnie Killero. And sorry, Bonnie, if I've said that wrong. She does fantastic celebrity impersonations like Reba, Shania, Patsy Cline, and she sings wonderfully. She was sick as a dog and put on a hell of a show. So, hint, hint, if you know anybody that needs some really good entertainment in a big venue, you should maybe look her up. That was a terrible link, wasn't it? Anyways, her page is listed at the bottom, and give her page a like. She kind of kicked my bum, reminding me and maybe suggesting I do a video. And I guess that was just what I needed because, again, I've been putting this off for a little while. And I want to apologize for that. I often get asked a lot of the same questions. So that's where we're going to start with some of the questions that I'm quite commonly asked, a little get to know you section. Let me just take a step back and just say, because of anxiety, I tend to fill in the dead air with chatter. If I've stepped on your toes, annoyed you, harassed you, whatever it may be, I'm really sorry. It wasn't supposed to be the case. Now, I often get told I have a very interesting life. I should write a book, I should do something, I should do something. Reality is, it was the way I grew up. I don't know any different. One of your favorite questions to ask me is where I was born. Well, I was born in Edmonton, but my folks were living in St. Albert. So that question is kind of, I don't know, what do you say? It doesn't really count. And before you knew it, I ended up in Regina, stopping at probably 38 places in total. That includes all 4 Western provinces, some missionary work that I did in Guyana, South America, and even a bit of time down in Montana. Oddly, I've owned the studio longer, which is coming up to 6 years now, than I've lived any one place in my life at a stretch. My dad's had some health issues, and so they lived in Edmonton for a while, and when a venture would fail or I'd return from, coming back from overseas, I'd move back to Edmonton, and I kind of bounced back and forth there. That lasted about 8 years. Next year, I'll be here for 9 years. That's longer than I even bounced back to Edmonton. It's because Regina is a pretty awesome place. It's now my home. I can't imagine living anywhere else. You guys have been so inclusive. It doesn't have to be the big things like buying me a coffee or whatever. It could just be as simple as inviting me into your conversation, including me in your event. Just blown away. It wasn't even 3 months I was here when I had my first invite. It was pretty special. Never had that really in my life. So, Regina, you're pretty awesome. Now, I should maybe step back and say I've had a few friends here and there that have certainly been that way, but not a community. So, Regina, you're stuck with me. The second most common question I'm asked is, how did I learn photography? Well, when I was 7, my sister happened to get this little 110 type of camera, and it was a fantastic little device, but it was hers, not mine, right? So by the time I was 12, we were living in Rocky, and my mom suggested that I use her camera which I eventually wore out. Sorry, Mom. But you know, it's a really great analogy of the way my parents were. They were 100% supportive of all my adventures, whether I was going to succeed or not. They were always loving, and they always were generous to a fault wherever they possibly could. At the end of the day, I could fail miserably, and Dad go, see, told you, but you had to learn on your own. Mom would give me a big hug and put some food down in front of me, and life would go on. When I told them I wanted to move to Regina, they kind of supported me. Well, they completely supported me. Let me rephrase that. And now I'm completely off track. Sorry. Let me go back. So at 12, Mom gave me her camera. About the same time, I took a darkroom course in junior high, and we had to wrap our own film and all of those sort of wonderful things with this lovely little Pentax camera. Over the next number of years, I certainly took some courses. I read a couple of books. But again, I grew up in an era without YouTube and online instruction. So for the majority of the time, it was just burning a lot of frames and trying things out. I started my first studio 19 years ago in the back of a ballet studio shooting ballet clients. Then I shot up a little bit of female portraiture, some glamour, some fashion, something I've been interested in since I was a kid. So be it the 35 years, be it the 19 years since I first opened my first studio, I've had a little bit of practice. If you've worked at a job for 20 years, I would hope that you got better as well. That's just the natural progression. Now, I do have some natural talent. It's hard for me to admit because we're all a little self-doubting. But at the end of the day, it's been a lot of practice and a lot of practice. One of the next questions that I'm often asked is my fascination with birds. Honestly, I don't have an answer. Most people tell me it's an old man sport, but I've always been fascinated with it. One of the theories is my adopted name. Let me explain. When I was five, we moved to Coola, BC. Wonderful, wonderful little village on a freshwater inlet just north of Vancouver Island, right on the coast. There was some wonderful salmon. There was wonderful people there. They're still family. My Sunday school teacher, Beatrice Schooner, wanted to give me and my brothers and sister a traditional name and adopt us as part of the family. She's Nakux, and like that word, I'm probably going to say my traditional name wrong, but it is Sputamax. And it roughly translates into, it roughly translates into feathers as in wings. That was a long time ago, so maybe that was it. Whatever the case, they're still wonderful creatures and a lot of my therapy. Now, this page, in short, my plan is just to kind of give you guys a Monday blog about different images, different questions you have about myself. Whatever you would like, inbox me and let me know. Next week, we're going to talk about a fellow named Hank and the story behind him. So tune in next Monday. In closing, I do need to touch on one other thing, and that's unfortunately my health, particularly my mental health. I've always had joint issues. I've always had some health issues. I was born pigeon-toed. I had mumps. I've had scarlet fever. I had, you name it, I probably had it as a kid. I wasn't healthy. I was diagnosed at 7 with dyslexia, at 20 with ADHD, and was convinced that I would just grow out of it eventually. Unfortunately, the side effect of just leaving it meant a lot of mental health problems. I'm not saying this for pity or for making myself look any particular way. But I have a journey, and you guys have shown some interest in supporting me. And I need to be honest and open with you. My mental health is about 100 out of 10 when I went for testing in 2015. So we needed to do something, and we needed to fix it pretty darn quick. And it's working. November was the first time I can remember not feeling like dying was a great option, since I don't know when. I know it's a pretty sad statement, but it's true. Unfortunately, medication, some of my mouth surgery that I had to do to bring me back on track and to make me healthy has limited my usefulness in the studio. This is my therapy. I love shooting boudoir. I love taking somebody that is having a few challenges with life and transforming their view. It's my chance to go somewhere with the camera and be somebody and have my excuse to be there. It's my security blanket. It's my therapy driving down back roads. Unfortunately, my equipment's wearing out. I'm not able to work as much as I used to, and I need some help. And I know there's lots of artists out there that need help. So please don't feel obligated to do that. Buy someone's CD, support local artists. But if you can help, take a look on the one side and just see what the commitment level is that you're able to offer. It would be very appreciated at any amount. Thanks for taking the time to listen, guys. It's time to sign off. Message me your questions. Message me any concerns, any feedback about this video. I do photography, not videos, so something's probably not 100%. Sorry.